Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely fascinating. We're looking at the exact point where ancient biblical texts collide perfectly with modern human psychology. It's so interesting to see how brain mechanics, things like the dopamine hijack and the hedonic treadmill, actually act as massive roadblocks to spiritual trust. The source material we're looking at maps out this highly systematic breakdown of human behavior, and it shows exactly how our deep-seated need for control, visual validation, and personal status constantly wars against true faith. Whether you're a theology enthusiast or a total psychology buff, the way these ancient barriers are diagnosed here is just incredibly relevant to us today.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with step 1, the foundation of faith. Then we'll unpack 3 major roadblocks: the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. And finally, we'll bring it all together in step 5, the ultimate choice.
All right, section 1, the foundation of faith.
So before we start diagnosing the specific barriers that derail us, we really have to establish our baseline of spiritual health. According to the source material, faith is a total, unshakable dependence on the sovereign, unseen creator, completely detached from worldly outcomes. Think about what that actually means. It means intentionally detaching your trust from how your circumstances look or feel at any given moment. It requires immense, raw vulnerability. And let's be honest, human nature absolutely hates that. Moving right along to section 2, lust of the flesh. This first major roadblock is all about our desperate, hardwired biological need for comfort. The source text uses this truly wild ancient example. In Luke 9:54, the disciples James and John face some opposition, and their immediate, knee-jerk reaction is to ask, "Lord, do you want us to call fire down from heaven to destroy them?" I mean, they felt a sudden loss of control, and their impulse was essentially to call in a divine airstrike to instantly eliminate their discomfort. It's a pretty intense reaction to uncertainty. But the crazy thing is, this ancient reaction maps perfectly onto modern psychology. When a personal crisis threatens our stability, we abandon intentional trust and just try to self-medicate our anxiety. We fall prey to what's known as the dopamine hijack. We start seeking quick chemical rewards in the brain by doing things that make us feel like we're back in control. So, instead of waiting it out, we chase the quick hits of anxious outrage or worldly luxury just to avoid the deep, uncomfortable reality of surrender. So on one side, you've got the quick, temporary relief of a self-engineered life. You get that internal chemical high of manufactured control, which, numbs the pain of waiting. But on the exact opposite side is what true faith actually requires: waiting on God in total, raw vulnerability. It is literally a battle between a quick fix to soothe our anxiety and the terrifying discomfort of surrendering to a plan we can't even see.
I want to pause our narrative rhythm for just a second here with a direct diagnostic question from the text. When reality gets uncomfortable for you, do you retreat into self-preservation and try to manufacture your own control? Or are you actually willing to endure the heavy, raw discomfort of total surrender, trusting the fragile pieces of your life to something completely unseen? Which brings us to section 3, lust of the eyes.
If the flesh is all about feeling comfortable, well, the eyes are all about seeing the proof. We ground this barrier in some deeply profound ancient wisdom from Proverbs 27:20, which states, "Death and destruction are never satisfied, and neither are human eyes." Human eyes are perpetually hungry for visible, tangible proof of success. We literally want to see with our own 2 eyes that we are winning. The source material actually connects that ancient proverb directly to the modern concept of the hedonic treadmill. It's this psychological cycle where you just keep running endlessly to maintain the exact same baseline of satisfaction. We only practice faith when we can physically see our surroundings prospering, demanding constant external applause. And that just traps us in persistent anxiety. Because, let's face it, the cultural narrative is always shifting. The second you stop looking like you're winning, your faith absolutely plummets. It really comes down to this. You're either chasing the temporary high of human approval, or you're choosing the unshakable, raw stability of a hidden life with Christ. One is just a fleeting mirage of visible success that requires constant social validation to survive. The other anchors your soul entirely in the unseen hand of God, completely independent of whether people happen to be applauding you or not. So here is our second diagnostic check. When your public image is threatened and you suddenly no longer look successful, what's your reflex? Do you scramble and demand constant human validation? Or do you make the hard choice to expose your brokenness, anchoring your soul in the quiet mercy of an unseen God?
Next up, section 4,
the pride of life. This brings us to the final, and honestly, probably the most deeply ingrained roadblock of them all, our demand for personal dignity and status. The text uses Deuteronomy 8 to perfectly illustrate this persistent illusion of self-sufficiency. It says, "My power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me." We look at our success, hit the nail right on the head, and just assume our own hands built it. We end up treating God's sovereignty like a convenient little safety net, rather than our absolute source. The explainer maps out how this pride actually escalates sequentially in 3 steps. First up, defending dignity. That's when we withdraw into self-importance because a task feels beneath us. Second is indulging arrogance, where we start boasting and relying heavily on our own self-sufficiency. And finally, weaponizing superiority. This happens when someone else's success highlights our own insecurity, driving us to weaponize our theological knowledge just to diminish their worth and elevate ourselves. It's toxic, but it happens all the time. Once again, we're looking at a massive contrast here. Pride gives you this temporary high, right? You feel uniquely qualified, like you're the masterful author of your own destiny. But actually overcoming it, that requires the deep, raw humility of recognizing you are simply a fragile breath. It means accepting the harsh reality of being a broken sinner who needs the exact same grace as everyone else you might secretly be looking down on. So here's the ultimate diagnostic question for pride. When you look at your achievements, do you claim ownership and simply write God into a script you've already authored yourself? Or do you shatter your self-sufficiency, strip away those prideful assumptions, and truly surrender your capabilities to the absolute authority of a sovereign God? And finally, Section 5, the ultimate choice. All right, so we've mapped out these pathogens, and really, they all point to one foundational daily decision. Every single barrier we've talked about, the flesh, the eyes, and the pride, they're basically asking us to make a trade. They offer this fleeting high, the dopamine hit of control, the hedonic treadmill of approval, or the arrogant illusion of being the author of our own destiny. To overcome them, we literally have to trade those temporary highs for genuine stability, true vulnerability, and deep humility. We have to make the choice to trade the visible for the unseen, which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. Every single day, you've got to make a decision. Will you choose the temporary mirage of your own control, soothing your anxiety with visual proof and pride? Or will you strip away your defenses, endure the very real discomfort of surrender, and anchor your soul in the unshakable unseen? Thanks for walking through this explainer with me.